Hi, greetings to the Whovians. Whovian Queen here. Hope you're all having a good week so far. Well, our look at the 11th Doctor era now continues on with the departure of both Amy and Rory in The Angels Take Manhattan. In 2012, the 11th Doctor, Amy and Rory enjoy a picnic at Central Park. The Doctor reads a novel about a 1930s detective named Melody Malone. Rory is sent to 1938 by Sheriff Weeping Angel and meets River Song, who wrote Melody Malone. The Doctor and Amy find Rory written into the Melody Malone novel and attempt to take the TARDIS to 1938, but the TARDIS struggles to get there. The Weeping Angel collector Grail captures River and Rory. He locks Rory in the cellar with several shared Weeping Angels, while he has the Weeping Angel grab River by the wrist while he interrogates her. River is able to use the vortex manipulator to allow the TARDIS to arrive. Amy, knowing River wrote the book to help them, uses it to look for Rory. River breaks her wrist to free herself. Amy finds the cellar empty and the Doctor locates Rory at an apartment building nearby. Rory enters an apartment with an elderly version of himself in bed, who dies without having seen Amy for many years. The Doctor deduces that the Weeping Angels have been using the building as a battery farm, sending the victims to their past while feeding off their time energy. Rory and Amy refuse to accept their fate and flee to the roof. Amy and Rory jump off the roof, creating a paradox that destroys the building and the Weeping Angels. The Doctor, River, Amy, and Rory find themselves near the TARDIS in a graveyard in 2012. Rory catches sight of a gravestone with his name on it. He is then sent into the past by Weeping Angel who has survived the paradox. The Doctor is unable to get back to him due to the paradox. Despite the Doctor urging her not to do so, Amy allows herself to be touched by the Weeping Angel in the hope of being with Rory. Her name then appears with Rory's on the gravestone. River declines to travel with the Doctor, but insists he should not travel alone. Unsuccessfully motivating him, River tells the Doctor she will ask Amy to write an afterword in the novel. The Doctor recovers the last page of the book he turned out earlier, where Amy wrote to him, encouraging him not to travel alone. As a final request from Amy, the Doctor goes back to her garden in 1996, the morning after young Amelia Pond had waited for him in the 11th hour, to tell her about her future adventures. Aww. So now let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. Images from the 11th hour of a young Amelia Pond going to the garden and awaiting the Doctor are shown at the episode's conclusion. Amy's afterword contains several references to her adventures with the Doctor, fighting with pirates from The Curse of the Black Spot, falling in love with a man who will wait 2,000 years to keep her safe from the Big Bang, giving up to the greatest painter who ever lived from Vincent the Doctor, and saving a whale in outer space from the beast below. And now finally, let's take a look at the production of this episode. In December 2011, Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat announced that Amy and Rory would leave in the 7th series in heartbreaking circumstances. Amy's exit was a mutual decision between Moffat and Amy's actor, Karen Gillan. Gillan said that she wanted to go on a high when the character's at her prime, and to go with everything that she wants. She wanted her character to have a final ending, and ruled out returning to the show in the future as she felt it would take away from the impact of her final scene. Moffat said he felt tremendous pressure with Amy and Rory's ending. He later revealed that he completely changed the ending as he was writing it, feeling the emphasis was wrong. During rewrites, Moffat went back and forth deciding whether or not Amy and Rory should live or die. He eventually said that death would complement the storyline involving the old, sentimental, and dangerous characterization of the Doctor. At one point he considered making the story that involved the Daleks, but felt the Weeping Angels were a better fit. Moffat was also interested in coming up with a new form for the Angels, so he introduced the Cherubs. He also said that since the Angels had debuted in Blink, fans had suggested that the Statue of Liberty could be a Weeping Angel. Gillan refused to read the script for a few weeks after she received it because she didn't want to make it real. She said in an interview, quote, "I literally couldn't read it without crying. It was the most highly charged read-through I've ever experienced, but I couldn't have asked for a better exit. I don't think it'll be what people expect," end quote. A scene runner by Chris Chibnall showing how Rory's father Brian, played by Mark Williams, became aware of Amy and Rory's fate to not make it into production. However, on October 12, 2012, the BBC released an animated storyboard entitled P.S. that depicted the scene with narration by Arthur Darvill. It takes place 1 week later in Brian's timeline after the Power of Three, when a man named Anthony delivers him a letter from Rory, telling him that he'll never return and that Anthony is the son they adopted in 1946. The scene was rated to be a DVD extra. It was not filmed due to time constraints. The read-through for The Angels Take Manhattan took place in the Upperboat Studios on March 23, 2012, alongside that for the episode Asylum of the Daleks. The final episode Gillen and Darville shot as Amy and Rory was actually the previous episode, The Power of Three. Nevertheless, Gillen and Matt Smith got very emotional filming the final graveyard scene. Amy and Rory's scene on the rooftop was filmed at a car park in Cardiff, with a green screen standing over the New York skyline. To create the effect of the tube plunging down, Gillen Darville was suspended upside down by wires and raised and lowered. Much of the episode was filmed in Central Park in New York City in April 2012. The filming was attended by thousands of American fans, which surprised the cast and crew. Other scenes were shot at night in the city, as well as by the East River front of the Brooklyn Bridge and in the Tudor City apartment complex. Moffat was in New York City when he came up with the story and thought it was appropriate for The Weeping Angels. He described the city as a different backdrop to shoot a Doctor Who story in and made use of its architecture. Fellow executive producer Caroline Skinner felt that the location has such scale and romance, which gave the episode a real atmosphere and a very different tone for Doctor Who. The week spent filming in the city was done by a small unit by American standards, according to producer Marcus Wilson. They did not take any props of Angels or the TARDIS, which were instead added in post-production. Filming for the episode also occurred at a cemetery in Lanale. Sorry if I butchered the pronunciation of that. During post-production, the New York skyline was inserted into the cemetery scenes. Gillen insisted on reading Amy's afterword in the Melody Malone book to Smith when his reaction was filmed. They were not expecting it to be in front of a crowd in Central Park, and Smith said they had to treat this like a play. Because the content was so secret, Gillen had to read very quietly, and Smith could not hold the real page because a spectator might take a picture of it. Gillen found that she only had one page of the script and had to improvise the rest. The Doctor Who logo in the title sequence featured a texture showing the Statue of Liberty's crown, in keeping with the very blockbuster themes for each of the opening 5 episodes of the series. The beginning of the episode features the song Englishman in New York by Sting. On October 4th, 2012, BBC Books released the ebook The Angel's Kiss, a Melody Malone mystery, a prequel to the story that the Doctor was reading in the episode. So overall, I think this is a very kind of depressing episode, but it still has some upbeat moments here and there, so yeah. So overall, I give The Angels Take Manhattan 5 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Anyway, tune in next time as we take a look at that mini episode, P.S. Well, hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it around, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about when I upload videos. And if I help support this channel, then be sure to check out my Patreon page. Link is in the description below. Anyway, until next time, this is Whovian Queen saying, "Oh my giddy aunt! When I say run, run! I've a polarity of the neutron flow. Would you like a jelly baby? Fantastic! Allons-y! Geronimo!" Bow ties are cool, fezzes are cool, and Stetsons are cool.